Okay, back to the bodywork. Alright, what I have done is I went and found some exact measurements for Les Paul controls as far as distances and angles and all that stuff. I kind of used my plate to figure out some of the angles and whatnot, because it pretty much follows the angle of the plate. This does go a certain way though, because it's not symmetrical. It looks symmetrical, but it's not. It won't fit any other way. Or it'll fit, but it won't be right. But anyway, I've got my controls laid out. I'm just trying to find a good place to put them, because I need to have enough space around the edge of the guitar for the plate when I put it on the back. I've got this thing labeled, so this is the template for the top, and then this is going to be for the back. So when I put this on the back of it, I'll be able to trace it out. Like once I get my pallet holes drilled for these, then I'll be able to use those to lay out where my plate's going to go on the back. And I'll do all that before I drill any thing with the Forstner bits. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and trace around this once I get it exactly where I want it, and use my X-Acto knife to make a crosshair. I've already got them cut out. You can kind of see. I'll make a crosshair in the surface of the guitar so I'll know where to drill my pallet holes, and then I'll use where the holes come out in the back to locate my plate. So let me go ahead and get this thing traced out, and I will start drilling. Alright, I've got my thing traced out. I had to move it a little bit because I don't know what happened. Oh, okay. Freaked myself out for a second. So I've got that pretty much where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and set my knobs down here just to see where they might end up. And that looks pretty good. One thing I've kind of been using visually as a reference is my Ibanez Artist 12 string, because it has very similar controls, so I'm kind of using that visually to kind of see where things need to be. On a Les Paul, the bridge volume is actually a little bit behind the tailpiece, but I'm going to have mine just a little bit up, because I didn't have a whole lot of space right here on this edge for when I put my cavity there to cut my recess out. I don't want to take it too close to the edge, because it'll just chip the edge off and I'll have to glue it back on. There'll be one more thing I have to take care of. So yeah, that's pretty much where that's going to go. Now I'm going to get ready to drill my pallet holes. Let me see if I can get my makeshift tripod set up. Actually, no, I'll just drill those and then I'll come back. Okay, my pallet holes are drilled. Let's see how we did. I haven't even lined this thing up yet, so I did go ahead and cut my holes out so I can see. Hey, that's perfect. Perfect. So what I can do now then, go ahead and retrace this, since it's where the plate's going to be. And then I can get my Forstner bits out and start drilling back through the other side. It's going to be pretty cool. Okay, here we are again with the trusty old Forstner bit. I learned from my mistake last time, and now I've got the guitar clamped down. Of course, it wasn't the Forstner bit part that caused me problems. It was when I tried to drill back through from the other side. One thing I did was I went ahead and plugged that hole that got screwed up, and I'm going to re-drill it. I got my tape on there, but I've got it a little bit further down, so I won't dig quite as deep. I got long shaft pots for this thing, so the freaking shafts are like 3/4 of an inch long. Well, not really, but they're made to go through the thicker Les Paul caps, so I don't need to go quite as deep. All right, here we go. If I can see where my pallet hole is. See how close I came to centering it. Yeah, it looks like I did pretty good. Yeah. Whoopsie. I'm not quite as afraid of it this time. Alright, there's number one. Alright, this is the one that's going to be going through my plug. So, should be interesting. It tried to jump on me. Good thing I caught it. Wow. Now my hope is I get all these fairly uniform depth, because what's going to happen is I'm going to drill out the rest of this area with other Forstner bits kind of in between these holes. That way it'll kind of have that pattern that a Les Paul cavity has. Number three. All right. I got scared to death there for a second. I felt something soft, and I thought I'd hit my desk, but turns out I drilled through my where the jack cavity is. So I was like, oh shit. That's probably about as deep as I need to go. Just a tiny bit more. Alright. There are my 4 main holes. Let me show you those. Ta-da! Alright. Now I'll go in between them. And it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly as deep, because I'll be using a chisel to finish cleaning it out. I should probably stop there. Unless I'll go to a smaller bit. I think I can chisel the rest of that out by hand pretty well. So I'm going to put the drill away, clean up this mess, and I'll be right back. Hello again. I have been working diligently with my chisel. I think McDoob would approve. I have pretty much got this thing. I'm going to do a little more smoothing out. I don't want to dig too deep though. This one went a little bit deeper than the rest of them did, but I think it'll be just fine. Like I said, I got the long shaft pots for this thing, so I should have plenty of room. So my next thing I will do, and I might film some of this part, I don't know yet. Let's go ahead and score around this line with the razor blade, get about as deep as I need to get that plate in. And then I will use this handy dandy chisel to go in from the side, chip away at it until I've got a recess. Okay, I'm getting ready to start cutting my recess for the back plate. What I've done is I've taken my blade. This is a new blade, newish. This is basswood, so it's really like soft. And I've got my plate taped down in the proper place. So what I'm going to do is very lightly at first go around the plate. I'm going to do that until I cut through the paint. So it'll kind of help me guide the blade around where it needs to go. And then I'll take the plate off and I will finish cutting out to depth. This really isn't all that deep. Once I get through the paint, it won't be so bad. I'm not going to start it right now because I'm not looking at what I'm doing actually. But the reason I'm doing this first is I want to get it tight around that plate as I can. I just got to make sure I don't cut the plate in the process. I did that with one of the inlays, scoring around it. I think the first one I cut like a sliver off the bottom of it. So I kind of like learned my lesson there. So let me get this thing set up and I'll get working. All right. Take my glasses off for this part since I'm going to be working in close range here. All right, I'm going to start up here on the top actually. Just follow that plate around. And I'll probably go around it 2 or 3 times This is probably going to take a few cuts to get through the paint. And I have to be very careful not to go out of the lines. You'll see me switch hands here and there. I am left-handed. I play the guitar right-handed. Doing that backward stuff that you guys like making fun of when you see a left-handed person write and whatnot. Funny thing is, I actually don't write like this. I think some left-handed people, when they learn how to write, they're watching right-handed people, so they point the pen the same direction as right-handed people, which is why they end up with this kind of thing. When I write, I actually hold my pen just like any right-handed person does, just the opposite direction. Mirror image. Alright, there's my first one. Now for the second lap. I'll go a little bit faster this time, since I've already made my first cut. Move my ashtray out the way. Now some of this I'm going to be cutting through as my plug, of course. Of course, I'll have to go back around and get these sides where the tape is. Yeah, it's starting to try to come off right there, and it's pulling my blade to the side. I'm just kind of trying to get through the paint at this point. There it goes, it's starting to chip now. I can hear it. Like I said, I want to make sure I don't accidentally cut into this cover. Because it only goes one way, and if I mess it up, I can't like flip it over or nothing. I'm about ready to pull the plate off. Alright, I'll go ahead and take this side off. Go ahead and make that cut. carefully. Come over here to this side. Make sure I hold the plate down the entire time so I don't move it. Another reason I'm cutting it so close is that I know that eventually this thing will end up bigger, slightly bigger than the plate. So I want to keep it as close as I can so that when I do put the plate on, it will still be pretty tight. Now, I don't want it to be as tight as the original plate that was on this guitar was. If y'all remember that, that was crazy. I had to punch it through from the front. Alright, now. Yeah, I still haven't gotten very deep with this thing. It's cutting a little deeper into my cover that I made for the plug. It's almost deep enough right there. I'll probably basically end up pulling that whole section of the plug off of here, at least this corner of it. Yeah, it's okay if I end up making this too small, because I can always make it bigger. You can't really add stuff back once you've like taken it. Let me move my arm out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. It's like, hey, I got 15 minutes of video of my arm. We'll go ahead and take this off now. Because I've scored through the paint enough I can see my line. And I can't really see it that well with the tape still on there. So, you can probably see my line pretty good there now. Still trying to chip through that paint. Hey, the paint they put on these guitars is pretty damn tough. One thing anybody who's ever tried to refinish an Ibanez complains about is how thick the paint is. But one of the downfalls of this particular style is because of the sharp edges on it. The paint chips on the edges really easily. So it's kind of hard to find an older RG that doesn't have some kind of paint chip out of the side of it. I remember when I got my first chip in my 550. Thought I was going to cry. And I remember when it happened too. I was in my room and I was playing, I was standing up. I had a strap on it. And I'd stopped playing long enough to light a cigarette. And about that time, one of the straps let go. One of the strap ends let go. And that thing fell face first on the floor. It was on the carpet still. I just got stood there for a second like, oh shit. $600 guitar hits the floor and I'm just like, damn. That's one of the very few guitars I've ever had on layaway. Got that thing brand new in 1991. Should be 30 years old this year. And of course I didn't have $600 all at once. So I put it on layaway, and it was on layaway for months. For about 3 months, I think it was. I had that and a Super Nintendo on layaway at the same time. Not from the same place, of course. Super Nintendo was at Walmart. I mean, Kmart. My mom was a Kmartian. Paint starting to chip off the inside, which is good. And I'm not if it chips off the inside. I mean, if it chips off the outside, it's fine too, because it's coming off anyway. But I prefer to have to do as little body work as I need to the outside of this thing, for obvious reasons. This is going to be tedious. I should have just filmed the chiseling part and done this off camera. But I gotta give you guys something silly to watch. Since this is my first video journal of a build. I did a video about the building of Scarlett, my RG470 that I turned into a gem type guitar. I still won't call her a gem because, you know, she's not a gem. But I made a video about that, but it was all just pictures that I took along the way and the song that I wrote and played with her. Alright, let's see how deep I am yet. Still not quite. I don't want to go too deep too soon. If I'm going too deep at once, if I hit a hard spot or something and this thing lets go, it's going to go skittering across the body, and I don't want that. I had enough of that crap happen with the fretboard. That part is almost deep enough. Corners are always tricky because they're corners. This is gonna be pretty cool though, I think. Like I said about basswood, it's pretty soft. The hardest part I've got right here is dealing with the freaking paint. Get through the paint in that sealer. Ooh, see that? That could have been disastrous. Yeah, this part right here, I'm transitioning from one type of wood to another, plus paint. Because I'm pretty sure these stirring sticks that I made my cavity cover out of are probably pine. So they're really soft too, and it's unfinished at this point. I'm gonna have to put some kind of sealer on this thing once it's ready before I primer it or any of that stuff. I still got a lot of work to go. I mean, I've gotten a lot done, but I still got a lot to go. All right, now. I suppose most people probably wouldn't do this with a safety razor. But like I said, I'm all about the improvising. And really, it kind of boils down to what you're comfortable with, I guess. I've done enough work with these things on guitars and whatnot that it's like, okay, whatever. I remember when I built the thin skull guitars, my buddy Robert had a Kramer that he wanted this skull design on, and I can't remember the exact model. I think it might have been a Beretta, Kramer Beretta in the 80s. Had a float on it, but when I got down under the paint, I found out that it was plywood, which kind of made it easier because it's kind of a multi-level kind of artwork. But I used razor blades and chisels to excavate the parts I needed to get out of there. I've never had a router or anything like that. I've never used one. I'd be afraid to try it now. Alright. We've done pretty good there. Keep enough there. Keep enough on that side. Keep enough over yonder. Yeah. Alright. Break time. Alright, break time's over. Everybody back on your heads. So, where did my chisel go? There it is. Alright, I'm going to just start taking this stuff off very, very little at a time until I get down to the level where my cut ends. One of the tricky parts is kind of trying to go with the grain, which is kind of tough in some spots. It's like I was talking about before. You kind of, it's easy to kind of get disoriented and be like, wait, which direction am I going here? Sometimes it might be easier to just kind of break off little chunks at once. Kind of like when I was doing inside the, this sealer and paint kind of cracks like an egg. Ooh. Alright, so I need to have it flat side down. That'll teach me. The problem I'm running into here is the chisel keeps trying to hit back of the guitar, I can't get it flat like I want it. But if I try to turn the thing upside down, so I can go in at an angle, it wants to skip across. So, it's being a pain in my butt. There we go. Just have to be careful, I guess. Of course, this will all have to be sanded and sealed and all that stuff. Another problem too, I can't really see where the bottom of my cut is. I guess once it stops just kind of falling out, then I've gotten there. Let's see here. That's... Pull my plate up to it, and that's just about the right depth. It's real close if it's not there. Nice. So, what I will do is I will come back when I'm done. Alright, I'm back. Okay. I've already fitted this cover on here. Kind of got it so it would fit. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. My chisel slipped right there and it cut off a piece of the edge, but I was able to find it, and I've apparently lost it again. I'll have to find it again. I found the chip that came off of it, and I'm going to glue that one back in. A little bit of, get a little crazy around that edge and up here, but for the most part it's pretty flat. I'm going to take just a tiny bit more off down there to get that to sit down a little bit flatter, because then once I take all this paint off, it's actually going to sit a little higher. So I'm going to take a little bit more off of there, then I'm going to call that good for now. And then I'm going to tackle that one. So it turns out there is one more thing that I did fail to obsess about properly. Where my plug's going to be. Now that ended up being a little... When I plug this thing in, it's going to be sitting right about there. Which means my plug is going to be right in the way of my tone pot right there. So probably what I will do is I'll end up making a new one right about up in here. So it'll kind of come out in here in the solid space, and I will have to fill that in. Well, it's kind of too cold to do any like real painting or body work in that way, so at least it gives me something else to fix. Okay, I am currently in the process of drilling my holes for controls and all that good stuff, and my holes for the pickup wires. I'm having a little trouble finding the proper angles to go in. I did get my ground wire drilled successfully, and the wire for my pickups and everything to go to the volume control. But the problem is I screwed up the angle when I was going in and ended up coming out the front of the guitar. So what I am currently in the process of doing is chiseling this out so it's big enough to get all the wires, and then I'm going to basically cut this section out right here, and I'm going to graft a piece in there to fill that up, so when I sand it down, hopefully it will be flat and you won't even be able to tell. Goodness gracious. I came a little close to my bridge post, but I think it'll be okay. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit. Don't try this at home. And the graft is complete. Yeah, I kind of accidentally put the grain crossways on this thing, but it's okay because the rest of the grain's running the other way, so hopefully that'll give it a little strength. So I still got my channel wide open for the controls. I can't see it on there, but it's open. There you go. So there ought to be a large enough channel to run all those wires, because I'm going to have like, what, maybe three, no, I'm going to have 2 wires, maybe 3 going through there. The one I'm kind of worried about is whether that one's going to be big enough. Since I already filled that in, I would have to drill all the way through, but I think it'll be fine. So I think, aside from having my output jack moved, which I'm going to put probably right about here, that way it'll come up in between these in the thick spot. Besides moving that, I think that's about all the drilling I'll need to do. Yeah, that too. Okay.